Hello Purposeful people, and welcome to our next video interview, which is going to give you insight and tools to maximise your own personal impact and influence. It's my very great pleasure to welcome Jim Akers today. Jim has had a stellar career in sales, is the founder of Impactful Notes, and is now a 3-time author. I read his most recent book, which is called Tape Breakers, and its subtitle is How to Maximise Your Impact with People You Love, Teams You Lead, and Causes That Stir Your Heart. And I must admit, I love this book and have bought multiple copies to give away to friends. And because the topic of this book is so close to the heart of purposeful people and what this blog is all about, I felt I just had to interview Jim for the blog. So Jim, welcome and thanks so much for joining me today.
Richard, great to be with you. And I do love the purpose of your blog, and it's great to have an opportunity to talk with your audience.
Thanks for joining. So my first question really, Jim, is, writing a book is, I guess, a lot of work. So what drove you to write a book on making an impact? What is it that's important about that, and what do you think people need to hear?
Well, what started it really, Richard, was after a 25 plus year career in senior leadership, I kept coming across people that seemed to have more regrets than they had victories in their lives. And what I found is everyone wants to be the hero of their own race, right? And everyone's going to write a story with their race. The goal has to be to write a story big enough, bold enough, impactful enough that it truly touches people's lives, gives them an opportunity to see their possibilities and really unlock the purpose that's deep within them, and not hide it away. So that was really the essence of why I wrote the book.
And in the book, you talk about your own experience, I think, with your father as somebody who lived an impactful life. What was particularly striking about your father that really made you sit up and take notice?
Wow, Richard, you did read the book, and the most difficult chapter to write was the first one about my dad, and it's entitled An Unlikely Source of Clarity. And the essence of it is my dad was a very average man and grew up very poor and had a lot of things happen to him early in his life that should have just led him to quit, check out on everything. He lost 2 siblings, lost his first wife, found himself married with a 2-year-old daughter. And there's just a lot of things about that said, and you see examples of this, that would have said, this is enough. I don't need to go forward. But what I found in watching him live his life was that he took every role that he played, whether it be his career, his role as a husband, his role as a father, tried to do the very best that he could do. And the clarity piece of it, Richard, as you know, was when I went to speak at his memorial service and watching a church that was overflowing with people, I started asking myself this question: how does this guy that is truly an average guy, what happened? How did all these people show up? And it was just the seriousness with which he approached people, always trying to be a positive influence and live in a way that he took that piece seriously. How do I help them get better? And it was amazing to me. I grew up with him, right? But I didn't see it. I was there every day, and I didn't see it until I saw the race at the end.
You use the metaphor of running races. It's the whole theme of your book, Tape Breakers. And you talk about having multiple races in our lives and wanting to finish well. Why did you choose this analogy?
Well, everyone, as I spoke about goal setting, which was something that my first couple books talked about, and achievement, everybody could understand the concept of running a race. There's a start, there's a finish, there's good parts of the races, there's difficult parts of the races. They could understand that. But the thing that was most powerful was that they could begin to see that there were more races than a single one that they were running. They ran a race in their career. They ran a race in their personal life as a wife, as a husband, as a father or mother. They could start to see that they weren't all blended together. You were doing them at the same time, but you had to be purposeful. You had to be intentional about how you ran each of those effectively. And that started to resonate with people.
So you'd encourage people to see their life as a series of races. And you mentioned work and family and career. I mean, would you say that there's kind of like 2 or 3 races that we're running, Or would you say there's a lot more interlocking? What kind of concrete examples, what races would you see in your life, or how would you help people to think about what those races are?
Well, with young folks that I work with, you think about it, they graduate high school and then they head off to college. That race through college is a race. And then as they come to the end of that, then they start shifting gears to create the next race, which is, well, how do I start a career? And you mentioned multiple races. The most complex time of our life is probably, late 20s to early 40s. We're managing a career, that's a race. We're managing a household, maybe a marriage. We may have multiple children in our lives. Those are all races we're running at the same time in a very complex time of life. So it becomes a question of how do you divide your time, talent, and resources towards those people that are most important and be intentional about it. And if you're not aware that you're running multiple races, you start to see where relationships flounder, races stall, disappointment, broken experiences start to occur. So you got to be mindful that there's not just one race. You're running multiple races at the same time. However difficult, but you are running them.
Absolutely, and that's the challenge, right? To manage those multiple races well.
Yes.
So, Jim, the book is full of great insight and coaching, but I guess I want to boil it down a bit. If somebody is keen to really live a life of impact, based on your research and your experience, what would your top tips of advice be?
Well, the first has to do with this whole idea of how you define success. The trap that we fall into is this idea of cultural success. We pursue a career so we can make money, to buy things we don't need, to impress people that don't care. And idea of success and impact is universally, I arrived at this, but every time I toss this definition of success out, I rarely, if ever, get an argument. People go, "You're right, Jim, that's correct." So here it is. Success is the identification of your roles, values, and goals in living your personal and professional life in accordance with those roles, values, and goals. So it's roles first. If you put people first, and I know you read the book, but I had a mentor that told me, "Hey, Jim, if you put your family first, you'll never be disappointed." And that resonated with me, that if you get those roles in order and you put your time investment into those, you can't go wrong. And I think the second piece of advice, Richard, that I think that I would encourage folks, there's a chapter in the book that's entitled "Don't Run Alone." And it's a chapter on accountability, is that when we run alone, we are doomed to fail. It's just too challenging. There's too many ups and downs. We need coaches and mentors in our lives. So you have to surround yourself with people and resources that help you invest and focus on the people that are most important, the races that are most important, the places that you can truly use your God-given ability to have the greatest degree of impact.
Yeah, that's awesome. So defining success and then having a team to help you, or an accountable partner, coach to actually help you and push you to run that race with vigor. So Jim, it's been great talking to you. If people are interested in finding out more about you and about your book, what should they do? What's the best way for them to find you?
Well, thanks, Richard, for that. Go to Jim D. Akers, AKERS.com. And that's my blog site, and information about the book is there and the other things that I do, and have some things that if people were to go there, they can sign up, and we'll send them some resources that help them run this race more effectively. So love to have people check that out. Thank you.
That's great. So I would encourage people to have a look at that. Say I really enjoyed the book. I bought a couple of copies to give away to different friends and relatives, which is not something I do with every book. So it was a book that, as I say, resonated with me, and I think it'll be of great help to a number of our readers and listeners. So, Jim, thank you again for taking the time, and I'm sure we'll be in touch over the next few weeks and months as things progress.
My pleasure, Richard. Great to be with you, and my best to all of your audience for listening. Thank you.